Goes. Becky Hill topic, My Heart Goes, on BBC Radio Nottingham. It's 19 minutes past 8. Good evening. I'm with you until 10 o'clock tonight. Now, we're talking about baby loss, and you might have noticed, if you were driving around Nottinghamshire, lots of buildings and landmarks have been lit up pink and blue, and you might be wondering, what's that for? Well, it is to highlight the issue of baby bereavement, and it's all part of this national campaign which has been running all this week for Baby Loss Awareness Week. And the point of the national campaign is so that people talk more about the grief of losing their baby. They sort of commemorate the lives of the baby that have died, and it's just a way of getting people to talk about this issue because unfortunately there's quite high statistics. I think I saw 1 in 4 babies, pregnancies end with baby loss, which is really, really sad fact. And you're going to hear now from a Nottinghamshire woman, Natalie. Natalie is on the line. Thank you for being on, Natalie. Natalie's going to share her story about baby loss. So thank you for this, because obviously it's a very serious topic. It's a very sad topic, but one that I think we need to talk about.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the issue, is that people don't often feel that they can talk about it. And so that's really why I'm happy to share my story.
So what happened with you then, Natalie?
Well, it was back in August 2013, and I was pregnant. I already had a daughter, and actually before I had my daughter, I had a miscarriage. So I was already 1 in 4 that ended in miscarriage. And I was out with some friends. I was about 10 weeks pregnant at the time, so they didn't actually know I was pregnant because of the issues that I'd had in the past. I wanted to wait until that magic sort of 12-week mark before I told anyone. And I went to the toilet and I realised that I was bleeding. And I remember the first thought that went through my head, having had miscarriage before, was like, oh no, it's happening again. And I was absolutely distraught. I left my friends, sort of made my excuses, left, went home.
Oh, did you not tell them? Did you not say?
I didn't.
No,
I
just
didn't.
Sort of left.
I didn't say anything because they didn't know I was pregnant, and I think I was in shock again.
I was going to say, were you in shock?
It happened, yeah. And I just knew I had to get out of there, and I had to go and see my husband. And I just clearly remember sort of running into the house and waking him up because he was in bed, he was asleep. And I just said to him, it's happened again. And he knew exactly what I meant. And, and I just floods of tears and that was it. And that was a Friday night. So, of course, then it was the weekend. And then it was kind of like, as far as I was concerned, I'd been through this before. And, I was an absolute mess. And I thought, right, I'm going to have to wait till I see the doctor on Monday just to sort of go through the process which I'd been through before. And I went to the doctors on the Monday, and I'm just so grateful to my GP because she gave me a thorough examination in the GP surgery that day. And if she hadn't done, there is a likelihood that I might not be here today telling you this story.
Oh gosh! So does it? So because with ectopic pregnancies, it's where it grows. The baby grows outside of the womb.
Yes,
so
that's correct,
if when you mentioned that there was blood when you went to the toilet, is that not? Can you still can you still be really poorly then from that, even though you've had the blood pass through?
So obviously I'd had the blood passing, so I just assumed that I'd miscarried at that point in time. But when I went to see the doctor and she examined me, she knew that something wasn't quite right, and she referred me immediately to the early the pregnancy unit at the hospital. I went straight there. I had scans. I had blood tests. I collapsed, and then I was rushed into surgery. And the baby, the fertilized egg, actually was in my fallopian tube. And had it gone on much longer, there's the potential that obviously as the baby grows, my fallopian tube could have ruptured, and that can cause death. So ectopic pregnancies are a life-threatening condition as well. So as well as having the grief of having lost your baby, then you've also got this immense emotion at just realising, you've been in a life-threatening position. And so it's a huge amount to deal with because you literally, I went into the doctor's surgery that morning, so, crying, saying I've miscarried, it's happened again. And then within a matter of hours, I was in hospital and then being rushed into surgery.
Gosh, so it's 10 times worse than you could have imagined, I guess.
It was in that way. I had my left fallopian tube removed through surgery, and I was actually home, believe it or not, that evening. I was actually out of hospital that evening. It was keyhole surgery.
Wow.
But, completely bewildered, in shock.
Yeah,
just
how did
thinking,
you process that? What
happened?
what was going through your head? Were you angry? Were you sad? What was it a whirlwind of emotions, or what was going through your head?
It was a complete whirlwind of emotions. I mean, sadness, overwhelming sadness, but then also an element of feeling grateful that I had been saved. You know what I mean? It had been identified, and I had the surgery. And obviously, I already had a little girl who I'd had successfully after my first miscarriage. And, I was just so grateful to be there for her as well. But then it's just a whole host of emotions were going then, because then fear set in. I'd always kind of saw myself as having sort of a big family, a number of children. And then immediately I was thinking, well, what's going to happen now? And then I felt guilty for feeling that, because I already had a beautifully healthy daughter. So then I felt guilty for feeling
Oh gosh, yeah, you're back and forth constantly, aren't you? Beating yourself up and then being, all these different things.
Yeah.
And what did you talk about it to people, Natalie, after it happened? Obviously, you went back and spoke to your husband, but were you vocal then about what you went through?
I was, yes. I mean, I was open then, but I hadn't been in the past. Before I had my daughter, I had miscarriage, as I mentioned before, and I didn't tell anyone. And my husband knew.
Why do you think you didn't tell anyone, Natalie?
Because I think in my head, and this is a ridiculous sentiment, but in my head I thought, announcing that you're pregnant is such a joyful emotion, and that's something, I wanted to share with people. And I was just sort of this overwhelming sadness came over me that, maybe this isn't going to be easy for me, maybe this isn't going to happen. And for whatever reason, I decided to keep it to myself. I only told a very, very few people, but I remember I didn't even tell my mum. Now, me and my mum are, like best friends. We are so, so close. And I was like, why on earth didn't I tell my mum? She could have helped me. And she could have helped me through that situation. And she certainly did. Both my parents were amazing through my ectopic. And so I kind of thought to myself, why didn't I talk about it the first loss I experienced? Because there are people that will help you and support you. But I suppose that, it comes back to the stigma of not talking about baby loss.
Yeah, and that's exactly what this sort of week is about, isn't it? This Baby Loss Awareness Week is to get more people talking about things. Good evening, I'm Laurie. You're listening to me until 10 o'clock tonight, and the topic this evening is about baby loss. So it's quite a serious theme, so it comes with a little bit of a trigger warning, but you're hearing from one Nottinghamshire woman, Natalie Max, who had an ectopic pregnancy, which is where the baby grows outside of the womb, and unfortunately the baby didn't survive, and it's part of this really big push to get more people talking about baby loss, and because 1 in 4 pregnancies end in miscarriage, which is a huge stat, and Natalie's been sharing her story with us this evening, so we're really grateful to Natalie for that. And Natalie's got 2 little ones now, 2 beautiful children, Grace and Harry. So did you have Harry, how long after the ectopic pregnancy did you have Harry, Natalie? Were you scared? What was sort of going through your head with all that?
Yeah, I mean, I was incredibly lucky in that I actually had Harry literally a year after my ectopic took place. So I was incredibly grateful, because obviously your fertility can be affected, especially if, like me, you have surgery and a fallopian tube is removed. You're not quite sure to what degree your fertility is going to be affected. And so, of course, you are scared, you are worried. But, I'm so grateful that a year later, Harry came along.
Were you, when you found out that you were pregnant, were you not as excited? Was it kind of tainted a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, both my pregnancies, if I'm completely honest, they weren't sort of joyful or as joyful experiences as I'd hoped they would be. Having miscarried before Grace and then having had the ectopic before Harry, I literally was terrified for the entire 9 months that I was pregnant with both of them. I was just constantly on, I think I used to call it knicker watch, just in case there was any bleeding.
No. Yeah.
I was constantly, any sort of unusual or lack of movement or too much movement, or, I was just panicked because I was thinking, is something happening again? And it wasn't really until kind of towards the end of both pregnancies where I'd probably let myself relax a little bit more. But yeah, that's the horrible thing about experiencing loss, is that almost then it robs you a little bit of the excitement that you get when you eventually are pregnant, and you're so happy to be in that place, but then the fear never really goes away.
Yeah, it's quite kind of tainted it, hasn't it, a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're now raising money. You're doing a sort of fundraising. Tell us a little bit about the charity that helped you out when you were going through that time in your life.
Yeah, so talking about obviously being open and or wanting talking through with people, the Ectopic Pregnancy Trust are an amazing small charity that do just that. So people that have been affected by ectopic pregnancy, they provide amazing support. So whether it's through calls, whether it's through online, there are forums that people can talk to other people that have experienced it, and they're an amazing small team of women that have been through it, so they understand. And they help women get through the horrible experience. And I've long been a supporter of the charity, and I've volunteered for them, and I'm fundraising for them whenever I can. And this year I decided to take on one of their challenges, which is called the EPT 1000. So throughout this year I am walking 1,000 miles to raise money for them.
Amazing.
Now, you get a whole year to do it, but I'm trying to squeeze it into 10 months if I can, just because then it finishes up at the end of this year. But the amazing thing about it is basically you can do it your way. So you can run it, you can cycle it, you can walk it, you can do it whichever way is easiest for you. And it can be kilometres rather than miles. But my husband and I decided to opt for the miles. And I turned 40 this year. And one of the kind of things I said to myself that I wanted to do was challenge myself physically. So this seemed a brilliant way of doing it, as well as raising money for a charity that's obviously so very close to our hearts.
And how are you getting on? Have you got loads of holes in your socks from wearing your feet down for all the walking?
I've had some pretty interesting blisters over the year, that's for sure. But actually, it's been an amazing thing because it is making us get out into the fresh air and doing regular walks. Now, I'm not a runner. As much as I would love to be, and as much as I try, I'm not a runner.
Yeah.
So I'm walking it, but I've got quite a good pace, and that's the thing I'm really enjoying about it, is that I am enjoying it. It's not a chore.
That makes it so much better, doesn't it? Yeah, if you like it, it doesn't feel like a chore, like you say. Well, Natalie, good luck with it. So you've got what, till the end of the year to complete it?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, good luck.
Another few hundred to go. Yeah.